Alright guys, back by popular demand, we're doing another full-length tutorial on the iPad using Adobe Illustrator. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Alright guys, so I want to do an illustration and I'm going to walk you guys through the process. We're going to do a full video just so you guys get an understanding of how I'm doing this, and maybe you could follow along and you can do an illustration too. So I know I want to do a pizza, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get in here on Procreate. I'm just going to sketch out a quick little rough draft of what I want this to look like. Once I get that in a good place, I'll throw it over to Adobe Illustrator and we'll start getting the actual outline started. Alright guys, cool. So I like how this sketch looks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this as a photo and I'm going to throw it into Adobe Illustrator. And we're going to start getting these nice vector outlines done. Alright guys, so I've got my sketch in Adobe Illustrator on iPad now. So I'm going to scale this up a little bit and I'm going to drop the opacity. This is just going to be the base. We're going to come through and we're going to start outlining these with our vector lines. But I wanted to get this sketch so it made our journey a lot easier. I'm going to lock this bottom layer. I'm going to come over here to my layer panel. I'm going to click new layer. And now I'm going to grab the pencil tool. So there's a ton of different ways we could do this. I could grab the pen tool. But this is cheesy and drippy, so I don't have to be super precise with it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the pencil tool. A quick little tip for you guys too is there's this smoothing feature right here. I have mine on 8. I'm probably going to drop it down to like 6 for this piece, but this will determine how smooth your lines are going to be. So that can be really helpful if you have a shaky hand, or if you just want something more natural looking or something more fine-tuned. So like I said, I've got the pencil selected. Make sure we're on a new layer. We are. So now I'm just going to come through and I'm going to start outlining a lot of these lines. I want to make sure to take my time with this because this is going to be the base of my whole illustration. I don't have to be super worried about being that meticulous though, because at the end of the day, it's drippy cheese pizza, so it can have a little bit of imperfections. Alright, so I got that main drip, that main piece of pizza outlined. I think that's looking good. So now I'm going to come through, I'm just going to keep adding to these overall lines. And I'm doing full circles here, but I'll show you why I'm doing this here in a minute. It'll all make sense. Alright, so now I'm going to explain to you why I did full circles. I'm going to come over here and use the shape builder tool. And I can just cut off these extra little pieces right here. So you really don't have to worry about that. Let me grab all of it, come back to my shape builder. And I can just easily cut these pieces that aren't supposed to have the full shape in there. Perfect. Alright guys, so I've got all the outlines done, so I can come into my layer that has the sketch and I can hide that because we don't need that anymore. We can start focusing on cleaning this up and getting everything where it needs to be. So what I want to do now is I'm going to start adding some basic colors. This is just going to kind of let me know where each piece is going to go and help me get the overall composition. So obviously for the crust, we're going to select some type of brown. I think that looks good. This will be some kind of offshoot of that color. Probably a little lighter. And again, I'll come back and clean us up, so don't worry about that. This is going to be cheese, so I want this to be fun yellow. Probably like an orangish yellow. Again, I may come back there and clean a lot of these colors up, but for now, this will work. Now these are going to be kind of like the crust. So I'm going to come back over here, grab this guy. All right. I got some weird lines going on here. I can get rid of that. Perfect. And now my pepperoni, obviously some kind of red, right? All right. Now let's do that with all the pepperonis. Whoops. I let go of my shift tool. And I can just color select this. Look at that. And we're starting to get pizza. I mean, obviously you can start seeing where we're going with this, right? So now I've got all my colors filled in. It's looking good. What I want to do is I want to fix some of these lines. So these are supposed to be drips, right? I'm going to come to my settings over here. I'm going to select on the double-ended spear looking setting. And I think that's nice. I'm going to do it for this one as well. And that just helps it look a little bit more organic. Definitely liking that a lot better. All right, I've got everything outlined. I've got everything colored in. So now we can move on to our next step, which you guys know I like the most. It's going to be my highlights and shadows. So we're going to start with the shadow layer. I'm going to grab my pen tool again. I'm going to select black, and I'm just going to start going through and adding shadows where I think shadows should go. So I definitely know I want to add something right here where the crust meets. I don't mean to have a stroke on it, so I'm going to change that. Turn the stroke off. All right. And we're just going to keep doing this everywhere I think there should be a shadow. Alright, so I've got all my shadows outlined that I want outlined for now. So I'm going to come to this layer, I'm going to select everything, and then I can just drop this opacity, and that's going to give me this shadow look. Probably just stop at about like 25, and I may adjust that in the future. But I let go, and you can see I have nice shadows all the way around. So now I'm going to do the same thing except with highlights. So I'm going to grab a new layer, and then I'm going to change this to white, still grab my pencil tool, and I'm just going to go and I'm going to add highlights everywhere I think a highlight should be. Alright guys, again, I got all of my highlights where I want them, so I'm going to select this layer, and I'm just going to throw that opacity down a little bit. And I definitely put a lot of highlights on this. I wanted this pizza to look greasy, which I think it does, so mission accomplished. Alright, everything's starting to look good, starting to come together. What I want to do is I want to add a background, so I'm going to grab my rectangle tool, again, add a new layer, throw this back here. And I'm just going to drag from the top left to the bottom right. And I think I want this to be the same color as the cheese. And we're just going to unlock this layer. Great. Now, actually, what I want to do is I'm going to come through and I'm going to start fixing some of these colors because some of them are pretty harsh in my opinion. So I think this cheese should be like a little more orange. Okay, I think that's good. And I think the crust has some issues, so I'm going to try to change some of these colors as well. I think I'm going to try to add a little bit more brown into it. I think that adds a lot more. I'm going to do the same thing with here, but I'm just going to make it a little darker. Now we got the highlight shadows where I want them. Everything's starting to look good. What I want to do is add one more layer, and I like to add some little highlight and shadow dots. This is kind of a stylistic thing, but definitely give it a try if you like the way mine looks. Alright, so that looks good. Another thing I want to do is I'm going to add one more layer. Still with my brush tool, I'm going to use a black stroke, and I'm just going to do some accent lines around the edge of the shape. Alright, so I like the way all this is looking. I'm going to shrink it down just a tad, make sure it's in the middle. And the last thing I want to do is add a quick little drop shadow. So I'm going to grab my ellipse tool, And I'm gonna draw that underneath the pizza. I wanna make sure this layer's all the way at the bottom, because that's how shadows work, right? Move that in a little bit. And I'm gonna come over here, go to my gradient, radial, move these in a little bit. And this is a cool little trick. I don't know if a lot of people know it. This is just how you have to do like your Gaussian blurs on the iPad version, because they don't have a blur function. So I like to grab the outside color and then black as the inside. And then I'll drop this opacity just a little bit. And that makes it look like we have a nice little drop shadow. Well guys, this is essentially it. I'm sure I'll go back through and I'll add some adjustments, clean some things up, but I just wanted to be able to run through a quick full illustration tutorial of how to do this pizza, and hopefully you were able to follow along and make one of your own. Well guys, that's all I got for you. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you like these full-length tutorials. I'm always hesitant to do them, but you guys seem to enjoy them. So if you do, let me know in the comments below. A lot of you guys already do this, but if you followed along, I'd love to see your illustration. So make sure to tag me on Instagram so I can see what you did. Well guys, if you liked the video, you already know what to do. And until the next one, peace.